All right, John, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for being accommodating and getting us in after hours.
For sure.
I'm Mike Smallegan, and welcome to the Small Talk podcast. We're here at Anna's house on Plainfield. This is one of West Michigan's best brunch breakfast spots. They started in West Michigan, or in Grand Rapids, actually, at this location.
At this location, right?
And now have expanded all over. So we're doing something exciting. We actually are going to be giving away $25 2 times, so $50 in total to a subscriber, a new subscriber from someone that watches this podcast. So make sure to stay tuned to the end. So tell me about what you do at Anna's house and how long you've been with the company.
I'm a corporate chef. So I get the pleasure and the luxury and my job, I get to spend all my time at each restaurant. So we have 11 of them now. So
Okay.
I'm not just the chef of one restaurant. I kind of oversee heart of house or kitchen operations in all of them. And I get to work with the team to create all the menus. I'll do a lot of the heart of house operational training. Just make sure that we have, foodies that I work with, and we're doing the best we can, putting our best foot forward with the food and making sure that every time somebody comes in, they get a great meal.
Yeah, so you have 11 locations, and sounds like part of your job is to have consistency. So all of the restaurants kind of have a similar level of quality and maybe menu items too, or does each location have exclusive menu items?
Our menu's it's big.
Yeah.
So we have thought about having individual menu items for each location, but right now we have those 11 restaurants all have the same menu.
Okay.
But it's vast.
Yeah.
It's got something for everybody. That's how we kind of develop our menu and go through our process to make sure that we're hitting something that every age group would like, something for everybody with dietary needs, something that if you wanted to come in and just have a blowout 1-hour vacation meal where you're just indulging, we have that too. We have the traditional breakfast options, we have brunch, we have lunch. And so when we kind of go through our process, we make sure that we're hitting on every level of the menu. So we can kind of have one menu throughout all the restaurants.
So do you have vegan and gluten-free options?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that makes us really special, I think, is that we have a really big vegan menu, and the number one criteria for that is that it's tasty. The number one criteria
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You got a reputation.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, the number one criteria for all of our food is that it's tasty.
Okay.
And we start there and then kind of work our way into the different categories that I talked about. We have our sweet, our savory, we have our indulgent, we have our dietary friendly, but the vegan menu on there is very big. It's got something for everybody on that menu as well. And those items, we sell them to non-vegans because they're delicious.
Yeah, I'm sure that happens, and but it is great that you have that option because there is a lot of restaurants that don't. So
yeah, if you have a group of people that's coming in and one of them is vegan, they're going to choose the restaurant where maybe 6 people come in, 5 of them aren't vegan. The vegan gets to choose. You know what I mean? Because you want to be accommodating for everybody. So here now we have, like I said, something for everybody.
Yeah.
So everybody can come in and get their breakfast, enjoy their experience, and the ambiance of Anna's house is amazing. So that speaks for itself a little bit, and now they can come in and have this great breakfast, and really enjoy it and not feel like they're having to sacrifice. And that's the goal. We want them to come in and feel like they're getting a great meal and not have to sacrifice flavor or have to make accommodations to their own diet to be with a group of friends that they're with.
That's great.
I just want them to come in and enjoy.
Yeah. So where do you get your inspiration? How do you come up with new menu items?
It's a good question. I just love cooking.
Yeah.
I like being creative with food. My wife and I cook all the time at home. We got 3 little kids who are we're raising them to be foodies.
Yeah.
So they're my biggest critics. So I'm always getting feedback on what's good and what's bad at home. But as an organization, Anna's House is built on foodies. I would say our owner is the biggest foodie.
Okay, that's good.
He really likes great food and presses for quality all the time. It's always, is that the best ingredient? Can we get better? You know, how do we go more organic? Who's got the local stuff? But even if it's local, does it taste great? Is it the best that we can get on the market?
Yeah.
And so having that kind of like structure with the organization, then we've also put together a team. So I work with, in our office, we have a couple of people that do marketing. They do a great job. So they bring all sorts of ideas and inspirations to me, and then we go through it. And then we have this food focus group, which is a group of people that we trust from all around West Michigan.
Okay.
That we actually bring in quarterly. We show them the food that we're about to roll out to our guests on our feature menus. And then we also just give them a questionnaire on what they would like to see on the menu going forward. And that focus group has all the pillars of people that we want. We have older generations, younger generations. We have people that have dietary needs like vegan and gluten-free. We have a trained chef on that group to make sure that we are, number one, being tasty. We have a former food judge on the team.
Kind of an all-star cast. Huh?
Yeah, we tried to, and they do it all voluntarily.
Okay.
It's wonderful. So, and they're pretty honest with their feedback.
Yeah.
And I think that's another way we get our menu to be really, really great is all of us work together to put what's best on the plate in front of the guest. And when we do that, when we work together, we achieve a lot. So there's a lot of open, honest feedback. So my inspiration comes from a lot of places, and then there's a lot of guide rails that help us stay on track to reach our goal of the perfect menu every time.
Okay. What would you say is like the number one thing that people ask for when they come in here, or your number one menu item?
What's crazy is that our number one menu item is actually our traditionalist.
Okay.
Which is eggs, breakfast meat, usually bacon,
And the
toast.
standards, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then hash browns, and that's the number one seller. Like that's the bread and butter of Anna's house.
Okay.
So a lot of people want that meal that they can have consistent over and over and over again, and that's what they enjoy. But I would say outside of that, we have like a lot of Southwest dishes
Okay.
that are really great. So our Southwest Benedict is fantastic. It sells like crazy, and I think that that's something that people ask for quite a bit.
So when you are coming up with new ideas, and do you run them past your kids sometimes, and do you ever get like kind of mixed responses?
Absolutely. I do run them past the kids, not all the ways, because like they're pretty brutal. Like,
Yeah.
so there's like when I know it's gonna be a hit, I'm like, here you guys go. But when I'm kind of developing something and I'm still working on it, like
Yeah.
I don't need that like shot to the ego quite yet.
So what's like one of the dishes that like you've recently thrown past your kids and they maybe shot down? I mean, for me, I'm making pancakes with chocolate chips for my kids.
Right.
And that's about the extent of what I do, right?
So actually on our winter features right now, we
Yeah.
have a gingerbread French toast, and we actually make all the gingerbread in-house, our own loaves. We slice it, we French toast batter it. It comes with these roasted poached pears, brown sugar butter, and walnuts on top. And it's also got this apple caramel glaze that goes on top. It's
I
fantastic.
want some, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my kids would shoot it down.
Yeah, it's really good. And my first attempt at making the gingerbread, they were like, Dad, like this is great, and they're like 10, 7, and 3. They're
Okay.
not like older, like grown kids, but we feed them all the time, and
Yeah.
they have I don't know, they got good little taste buds for
Sure.
little tykes running around, and they have no filter because they're your kids and they're
Yep.
young, so they just kind of stick it to you. And they just said, hey, go back to the drawing board on it, like in their own little cute way that digs
not
at-
my fave,
digs
right?
at your
Yeah.
ego, right?
For sure.
So I actually went and worked with our chef in our Grandville location. His name is Abel,
Okay.
and he came from a bakery background. And I said, Abel, gingerbread. This is what we want to do. This is the direction we want to move. I think what I produced is great. And he was like, hey, try this, try this, try this. And we made it together. bring it back to the kids, and they're like, "You nailed it, good." So
Good job, Abel.
our
Yeah.
gingerbread French toast is what's on the menu from Abel.
Okay.
But courtesy of my children, who were brutally honest.
Now, you think that's going to be like a permanent menu item, or is that more of like a seasonal?
That's probably seasonal. That's
Okay.
probably seasonal. Like gingerbread, winter time, it's those warm spice flavors. It kind of fits with the holidays a little
Sure.
bit. So that'll probably pull off with our spring feature rollout. But it's been good for us. People are
Yeah.
really enjoying it.
So, in your opinion, like what would you say goes into like creating this type of environment? So, I mean, obviously, Anna's is well established as like a great breakfast spot, but like, what are some of the things that maybe you don't notice right away that you feel?
We Josh in his wisdom as he developed not only this location but the Beltline, brought in a designer. His name's Tyler. He's a really great dude. And he kind of just put this whole design together with the wallpaper.
Yeah.
And he's just got a really good idea of how to make you feel bright and warm. So a lot of light colors, a lot of features that are just like kind of open your eyes a little bit. So in the morning time, you want to come in and you want to hear the music, you want to wake up, you want to have a great meal, you want to
Smell the coffee.
Yeah, smell the coffee, start your day with a smile, meet somebody up front who's got a smiling face, be in a nice, bright, clean environment, you know what I mean? It's different than dinner where you're going in with candles and dim
Sure.
light, and you're kind of winding your day down with maybe a cocktail. Here you're starting your day off and trying to get it on the right foot, whether you're going into a business meeting or you want your weekend to start right. So Tyler did a great job just really figuring out what the roots of Anna's should be when he designed this with Josh.
Yeah.
And so we've really taken those designs and he's designed every one of our restaurants.
That's great.
And he's done something a little bit unique in every one.
Are there some like common things that kind of go across all of them?
Yeah, so one unique thing is they have this toaster wall. So I don't know where, I honestly don't know the history behind it, but I don't know where Tyler got the idea. But he always has like one wall in each restaurant that's got old historical toasters that are kind of lined up on the wall in a really cool pattern and way. And it's always just like this a visible feature that's on these walls, and it's really cool. And then we also have Sauter. And he is a painter that's local.
Okay.
I've seen him do his work. I was at a splash pad, I don't know, last summer, and he was doing the mural on the backside of the splash pad on this building, and I went up to him and said hello. But he does all of our Anna's murals. So if you've been to an Anna's house or any of them,
Yeah.
we've got these cool murals, black and white, giant murals on the side of the building that are like,
Those are hand painted?
those are all hand painted.
That's amazing.
By one person.
Yeah.
And they're all different. They're all unique. So the theme is always the same
Yeah.
or similar, but each restaurant is very unique in itself. So it is definitely a growing brand where we have 11 restaurants, but each one has their own feel. So you get a lot of people who come in and they're like, oh, Plainfield is my Anna's house.
Sure.
And Northland Drive is my Anna's house. Or I go to the Beltline Anna's house. And they like really, they'll drive further from their office to go to the Anna's house that they like, even though the food's the same. It's just each one of them has its own little unique vibe to it.
I think that, but a breakfast place, you're usually connecting with the people that work here.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
The person pouring your coffee, or the
Yep.
person taking your order, or the waitress, or
Yep.
it's the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's going to be different at all the locations that you have, and people come to breakfast for the experience, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. We have, and it's when we hire people on, so Northland down here, just a little bit away, that kind of services the Rockford area. We have a hostess down there, her name's Maggie, and I swear she has built the business for us
Yep.
just by being a smiling face, like up front. people just enjoy coming in and saying hello to her. And she doesn't necessarily wait on tables or do any of that, but she's there 4 or 5 days a week, smiling, getting people to their table, getting them started with a cup of coffee, and just kind of making sure that she works the
Making
weight
friends,
a little bit.
right?
Yeah, she just makes friends and makes you feel welcome coming in, and says see you again when you leave, and she's got a great smile. And I mean, we have people all over our 11 locations that do that. And it does start with people, you're right.
It's the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who you work with matters. And I think that's true in a lot of ways. And where you go and the experiences that you have are all part of it. So so you have 11 locations now. Like, what goes into choosing a new one? Like, how do you choose?
Josh, our owner, is really big into real estate.
Okay.
And he's done a really good job setting some parameters around what it is that Anna's House needs to be its optimal when it comes to a location. So car count, we look at demographics of the area, we look at parking lot size, we look at if our menu is going to fit in that area with the people group. He does a ton of research, and then we have the executive team that he runs it all by, and then when we're in. We try to get the best deal possible, and then we have a renovation team that goes in and makes these buildings look absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Expanding across like 11 locations, that's no small feat, right? Like that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you ensure that the consistency and quality remains consistent across all the locations?
Yeah. So
I said that twice, but we'll go with it. Consistency,
if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
That's the old mantra, right? And Anna's House has really decided to grow at an even pace. So not so much that you can't maintain the consistency and culture that we just talked about, but not so little that you can't bring a new breakfast experience to a different area. And so I've been fortunate enough since I joined the company 3 years ago to actually open up 3 different locations.
Yeah.
Our goal is 1 or 2 a year right now. And then hopefully as we get bigger and we grow from 11 to 13, that maybe we can take on more than that. But in that time, we've really developed a training program for our staff. We've really figured out how to make sure that we can onboard people. The people is the most important part. A lot of times
For sure.
You have to make sure that they know the ins and outs of the business. And when we haven't done that 100%, there's some bumps in the road when you open these restaurants. It's not easy. You just don't just one day open the doors and people come in and you got great sales.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of stuff that goes into it. So opening up Grand Haven was this great experience where we did it over the summertime, which Grand Haven in the summer just booms.
Yeah.
And then we had Coast Guard, so we had to train this restaurant, open it up, get the construction woes kind of out of the way, and then get our people in. And then right from the rip, we just were flooded with everybody that's on vacation, enjoying their beach time. We're kind of coming out of COVID a little bit, so everybody's out and about, and it was kind of wild. And that was okay, wow, we need to really button down our systems. We need to figure out how to train these people perfectly going in, because if it starts to go fast like that, they need to know exactly what to do every time, and the food needs to be perfect every time. So your first 80,000 guests get into this amazing experience, right?
Yeah.
So then we moved over to the other side of the state a couple years later and did Milford.
Okay.
And we took the learnings from Grand Haven and put them in place in Milford. So then we had this awesome training team where it wasn't just one person wearing all the hats. We had we kind of diversified and made sure that everybody had their key parts and responsibilities, and really worked a plan. And it worked out really, really well. I feel like our people were just super taken care of, and that community embraced us in a way that was kind of heartwarming. And then, take those lessons again and go over to Northland. And that restaurant opened up just recently with, almost flawlessly. We had training down. We got a beautiful brand new kitchen, great space, and it went from being this like Wild West to seamless, flawless, and super fun.
Yeah.
And when you know what you're doing and you know what you're supposed to do, and the food's coming out perfect, it's coming out hot, and you see people enjoying all of your creation.
It's got to feel good, right?
It does. It feels really good. And when you can do it right away, and you can see the fruits of your labor, and you can see that you're growing a brand, you're growing a company, you can share that breakfast experience with more people. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I think breakfast is a big part of a lot of people's day, right? Getting started. And I think if you started off with a good breakfast, a good experience, then the rest of the day is going to go better, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So for you opening these restaurants, like what would be the most rewarding part for you in doing that?
I think we're changing communities that we're in.
Yeah.
I mean, I know maybe it sounds lame, or maybe it sounds cheesy, but I do feel that, like you said, when you can start somebody's day out with a smile, or impact them in a positive way,
Yeah.
whether it's the food, or it's the people, or it's the ambiance. Those are the three pillars that
It's got to be a good combination of all of them.
Yeah,
I think you can have good food
constantly.
and still have a bad experience, and that could ruin your day. So
Yeah.
I think you guys do a really good job at having all of that in one place.
Yeah, and we talk about it with at the corporate level. We talk about it at the restaurant level. It's food, service, ambiance. And when we can really hone in on the food and hit our specs, and when we can greet somebody with a smile and make sure that their hot coffee's filled up and make sure that they get in and out of the restaurant in their time limit.
Yeah.
And then when we can keep our buildings fresh and beautiful, like we nail it.
For the employees, it's a great place to work too, right?
Yeah.
Like just having a clean, welcoming environment, I think is it's a place I would want to work.
Yeah, and there's security in that too, right? Because restaurants nowadays, they can be up and down, and they're hard to run. It's not an easy business to get into, and there's some real ups and downs sometimes. And you've probably seen in the area, there's restaurants that close and
Come and go pretty quick.
Yeah, and this restaurant right here has been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so there's some real security with our employees knowing that they can come to work, have a great time, serve a great breakfast, see people that are regulars all the time, enjoy what they're doing, make a good living, and know that they can come back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and continue to live the life they want to live outside of work.
Yeah. So you mentioned community. How else is Anna's House involved with the local community?
That's a great question. Every one of our restaurants, the GMs is such an integral part of what we do at Anna's House, and they all have their own unique heart, and they all have their own unique areas that they want to impact their community. So we do a lot of community involvement from the GM level in our restaurants.
Okay.
So an example in Grand Haven, Nicole partnered up with one of the local elementary schools.
Yeah.
And brought them in and worked with the teachers, and it was an open forum, and they got to kind of suggest, after they did a restaurant tour and spent time, they got to suggest menu ideas or what they would do better, or things to make Anna's House better. And they took that back to their classroom and did their project, and Nicole kind of followed up. And then a year later, we invited that classroom back in. They went from 3rd grade to 4th grade. The teacher got in touch with them, brought them all back in after hours. We served them hot chocolate and showed them the new kids menu that we developed with all of their ideas.
That's awesome.
From that. We do stuff with the police departments. We've gone to Kids Food Basket and spent some time there, just volunteering our time as an office, just going over there and making sure that we're making an impact locally, just because we can. That's important. We also partnered up with Toys for Tots this year, and in our Milford location, it was wild. We had a guest come in and see that the box was empty, and they came back and they went across the street to the store, bought enough toys to fill it 4-fold.
Oh, wow.
And said, here you go, let's get it started. And then the communities kind of rallied, and we filled up box after box after box for Toys for Tots this year.
From one one individual that
Yeah.
wanted, I mean, I would
Yeah.
say it started with Anna's house, but then that individual that came in and wanted to help, and then the community kind of rallied around him. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden emails get started sending out, and the GM's like, "Hey, you wouldn't believe what happened today," and then there's other GMs sharing their experience with Toys for Tots because they have their little box in their front pergola of their restaurant, and they just start to share this, and it snowballs, and you get all of the good feels. You know what I mean? Like, that's what builds the culture of Anna's House. Is we're not just serving breakfast; we're impacting communities in that way.
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of people overlook is, you are impacting your community. All local businesses do, through the people that work there, and then the people that frequent the place too. So it's good that you're aware of that, and don't take it for granted, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's something that we have to continue to do, and that's why we really have stayed local, because there's been opportunities outside the state, but this is where we have some brand recognition, and this is where we've had the biggest impact, and we're still finding new places to impact local areas.
Yeah,
and when that stops and that's saturated, we can move a little bit further out and doing that. But right now, I feel like the reception is warm right now, and we're continuing to grow in these around the Michigan area, and it's working for us.
You're supporting community, and community supporting you. That's great.
It's a great way to say it.
So as a chef, right, and I'm sure you've tried everything on the menu.
Yes.
What is like the one thing that is your favorite, and then one thing that maybe everybody else should try? Or it could be the same thing, I guess.
I think our features.
Okay.
So on the main menu, we can get into that, but like I said, we do these quarterly features. And so that's where we get with the team that we talked about.
Yeah.
That's where all the creative inspiration comes from. And that's where we go through tasting 1, and then tasting 2, and then even tasting 2.5 if we need to, before it goes to final recipe development, and we send it out to the guest. And that's where a lot of the passion comes from. So, and a lot of our just foodie development. That's what keeps us on the culinary cutting edge.
So something new is your favorite. So one of these new items.
Like recently, the breakfast nachos.
Wow.
Yeah. So how do you do breakfast, or how do you do nachos but make it breakfast?
Are they tortillas or?
Yeah, so we took these corn tortillas and fried them. We just float them right in the fryer, and so they're not just like this uniform shape. They kind of have this like bend to them.
Yeah.
And so they get some height on the plate, and they're fried like to order, and then we put them right on the plate, or put them right on our grill, and then we melt the cheese on there with some black beans, and then they come off right on our plate, so they're stacked up really high. They've got this incredible crunch to them, and then we put this roasted poblano green enchilada sauce on there, and then we have a green chili queso that's layered on there. So it's all the things that you love about kind of like a nacho.
Yeah.
But then we make it breakfast by putting an egg on there. And we have corn salsa, fresh tomatoes, queso fresco, and then we grill this lime and put it on there with some radish. And it just kind of, it screams nachos, but it's also for breakfast. It's kind of like, you best of both worlds.
I'd have to try that.
Yeah, and so that was a fun one to develop, because you get to be creative.
Yeah.
And then when you sit down and go through all these iterations and taste it, it's delicious. It's one of my favorite things that we've done. And then as far as like on the menu, the Bananas Foster's French toast.
Oh, I've actually had that a few times.
Yeah, you've had that one?
I like bananas for breakfast. I don't know, that's probably...
No, that's a
Is that a normal thing?
Yeah, and then we actually sear those on the grill, so they get this like caramelized, almost like bruleed texture and flavor to them. So it's not just like your raw banana on there. And then it goes over this French toasted ciabatta bread. And that ciabatta bread's made from Michigan bread, which is out of Detroit. So I call it local.
Yeah.
Well, it's local to Michigan, right? And they do a great job for us. They're super, super consistent. They've worked with our brand to really develop the bread recipes. They've worked with me personally just to make sure that we have this the perfect bread that we want for this dish. But yeah, it's French toasted, and then we have the caramel that goes over the top. This almond mascarpone. It's just a great dish.
Yeah, you're selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. It's like I said, it's like that. It's a 1 hour vacation. That's the dish you come in to indulge on. The one you can't get at home. It's
I think we need to get breakfast, Jeremy. So doing that focus group that you guys do to put new menu items together, what's like one thing that like you overwhelmingly said like this is not ever going to make it to the menu? Is there like one thing that you're like this is terrible, or does it not, do things not make it that far?
That is like that the food focus group is just like that's the creative engine a lot of times. So like there's never a no. It's a yes and how.
Okay.
So the most recent one we talked about is breakfast kebabs. I thought that was a fun idea. It could be, I have no idea how we would pull it off.
Yeah.
I haven't even started development on it. But the idea got thrown out there, and I could just see a breakfast plate with kebabs that are just got height, it's got dimension, it's got big flavors, and I just thought, man, that'd be kind of fun to do. Like how do we get there? And at first, is it possible? Sure.
Yeah.
How are we going to do it though? How are you going to do it so you can get your guests in and out? How are you going to do it so your line cooks can execute it perfectly over and over and over again? So no, there's not anything that's just like completely hit the cutting room floor like from the get-go.
Yeah.
There's definitely been some ideas that I'm like, ooh, I don't know. But then once we start to dive into it more, all of a sudden like the creative possibilities start to open up because you start to ask questions or you start to reach out to different people like Abel.
Yeah.
We have a cook at our Beltline locations named CP. He's great with making pizza. So we looked at breakfast pizza, and he actually made one just the other day for us that I tasted, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I could tweak a little bit of the idea that I have right now for that with some of the ingredients that he put on there. So there's always the yes and how.
Yeah, kind of just using everybody's brain power to come up with something amazing and unique.
And that's what's cool about food is you can do whatever you want. I mean, we could do a breakfast pasta if we wanted to. I know it sounds a little bit zany or off the wall.
I think that's 3 of my favorite food groups, actually, like syrup and...
There you go. Candy cane, candy corn, and syrup. We've had all sorts of crazy ideas. I think one thing that I really focus on with that food group, though, the food focus group, is just dietary trends and dietary needs. Like, what's trending? Is it whole foods? Is it grain forward? Is it the gluten-free, but is it a certain type of gluten-free? Like, do we want rice-based items, or do we want like corn-based items? Like how are we gonna get there? What's the kind of hip and in demand with people and these different food areas?
Yeah, there are obviously so many different choices. So are you taking opinions from the other side of the state now that you're expanded, across Michigan?
Yeah.
Or is it, so it's people from the west side and people from the east side?
Yep.
Okay.
From all over. And the last meeting we had, I had like just a notebook full of ideas. And then we have to go back in and, all right, what do we want to accomplish with this menu? Like, how are we going to get there? And then they also tell us about our main menu. Yeah. They also say, hey, now that we've got this food focus group, they come in, they try Anna's house, they continue to order different things when they come and frequent our restaurants, and they'll give feedback on our main menu staples, and we've been able to really think about how we're going to do those things better. Because of our focus group. Our BLT was great. It's loaded with tons of bacon. I mean, it's the biggest BLT you've had, but we had an extra layer of bread in the middle of it. And our focus group said, hey, this is really hard to eat. And I know it's as simple as a BLT, but they said, hey, we think people order it more and enjoy it more if you take out that layer of bread in the center.
Yeah.
So we did it. We tried it at a restaurant. It was unbelievable. The feedback on it was like, wow, this is better than the last time I had it. We didn't do much to it, but that focus group brought back just a little nugget of input, and we made the decision to go that direction, and it made us better. It made us better at our menu better. It made our brand better. And so we continue to innovate the main menu through them as well a lot of times.
Yeah, it's definitely you're passionate about food, and I think a lot of foodies would be also.
Yeah.
And they're passionate about providing that to other people, which is obviously your passion as well. So,
yeah, the details.
yeah.
You know? They bring the like I want to know exactly what you think. Like, is it the right texture? Is it the right color? Is it the right flavor? Is it moist enough? Is it not? I want to know all those things. And, you know, sometimes you think you got it just right because it's yours. It's your baby. You've developed it. You've created it. But then it takes that other set of eyes and taste buds to really help you refine it and give you perspective on what the mass guest wants.
For sure. So as we wrap up, can you give us a sneak peek into anything that is coming up either on the menu or something that Anna's House is doing in the community?
Yeah, I right now we're in development for our spring menu.
Okay.
And that's pretty much like wrapped up and good to go. And we've already started talking about what we're going to do for summer, but spring menu coming up. We're going to do the breakfast pizza.
All right.
Yeah. So
it's exciting.
Yeah. So something unique and new. And then we have this Mediterranean dish. Like I said, we do a lot of Southwest.
Yeah.
Tex-Mex flavor profiles.
Breakfast nachos.
Yeah. So we kind of took
I'm
it
gonna
another.
dream about those, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come in and have them. They're really good. I hope you like them. But we got this Mediterranean skillet that we've been talking about and dreaming about for a while. And it's got green bell peppers, red onion, broccoli, potatoes that are seasoned perfectly, and then we're using Euro meat. So it's got this lamb and beef blend that's been shaved onto there. It's all sauteed up together, and then I've got this like really awesome white sauce, and then we're taking pita bread and brushing it with some za'atar oil, putting an egg over the top, feta, tomato. So it's kind of like having a really high-end Euro.
Is that going to be in a skillet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
It's skillet bowl all together. So it's this blend of like breakfast meets Mediterranean meets Euro, and it's been really well received. I think it's going to be a hit, and it's fun. It looks beautiful. I can't wait to go into like the marketing photos of it and really like capture what this dish is, so we can get it on a menu and show everybody.
So, your breakfast menu or your seasonal menu, is that things that reoccur, or is it new every season?
It's new every season. Now, I'm not afraid to bring old stuff back. That's so if we get something that just sells like crazy and yeah, we're gonna bring it back by popular demand. But I think we'll always look at ways to tweak those things and make them a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you make a recipe at home, you love it. You make it again, you love it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know, you get a new idea, and you're like, oh my gosh, this little tweak could make it just that much better. So our breakfast tacos, we always talk about bringing those back. Those were a hit.
Tacos and nachos for breakfast?
Yeah, they were.
Sounds great.
Yeah, they were a hit. They probably our best-selling feature menu item in the 3 years that I've been with the company. And we talk about bringing those back quite often, but I have some ideas that if we do bring them back, we're going to elevate them. So it's all about elevating and innovating and always saving the world from an ordinary breakfast.
Yeah, that's
we got
that's your mission statement.
That
you should
goal
have that
never
written on your
stops,
wall,
right? Yeah.
So it's been really great getting to know you a little bit and more about Anna's House and their impact on the community and the impact on people's day, right? And appreciate what you do and what you've shared with us today, and thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for letting me tell the story. It was a lot of fun.
This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Small Talk Podcast with Anna's House. We've got an exciting giveaway just for you. 2 $25 gift cards to Anna's House. Here's how you win. subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and then follow me on Instagram or TikTok and send me a message with the word gingerbread. The winners will be announced on February 9th. Don't miss your chance to enjoy a free meal at Anna's house on Plainfield. Thanks a lot and best of luck.